I've just had a chat off air with Darryl, and the guy likes to talk, and it's great to interview him. And Darryl, I'd just like to ask you, what's your favourite hate in football?
Well, in general, I think it's just people around football clubs that just don't see the good side of what football clubs do for people, and also people who obviously pull other situations to pieces. I think the most important thing about being in the country and also being involved in sport is trying to always be positive, and also always putting a positive spin on what's going on, because it's very easy to be a knocker. It's very hard to be positive all the time and make sure that everybody gets an equal and fair opportunity to make sure that that no one's disadvantaged. And like we've got the Sharks the Albany Sharks that are coming into the competition this year, and they've had their detractors and those types of things. But really, at the end of the day, I mean, you look at the competition now. We've already knocked 6 weeks off of where we would have been if we had have stayed with the 5-team competition. So really, we do, and we really care that the Sharks, even though we don't want to lose our players to them, but we really do need them to be positive and get a team up and running. And look, it's going to be hard. You only have to look at Greater Western Sydney and the Gold Coast Suns. Yeah. It is not easy. Now they've got millions of dollars at their disposal. So we've got a football club in a town which has got a population that is not probably half the size of Bunbury. Now, Bunbury have had 3 football sides in their competition over there, which is Bunbury, South Bunbury and Kerry Park. I know that the Boynup Capel Dardanup moved to Eton, and they've got the Eton Boomers in Eton now. But on the same token, our population is probably going to struggle in bringing a 4th side in. So to those people at the Albany Sharks, we know that when we're in battle, that we're going to be fierce, but hopefully that they can endure all the knockers and people who have been running around trying to knock them over, that they survive and our competition gets better, because obviously our population will grow, and as long as that they can stick it out for the time, I'm sure eventually that there'll be players coming through. So
yeah, but I'm seeing especially my team, North Melbourne, thrashing GWS last week, and obviously a lot of clubs will think that they've got to beat GWS by at least 80 points, to keep up with the others, to be in line. Now the same situation is going to happen in our competition, isn't it? They see Sharks as a good percentage boost, and then that could, if they keep getting thumped every week, that could detract them from long-term survival.
And this is the problem that we're going to have, but unfortunately I don't see anybody in the AFL taking any pity on GWS and also the Suns, purely too because they've taken some of their players and probably unfairly in the fact that they were able to offer them bag loads of money. Now that's another issue which is something that I don't quite believe in the Great Southern either, is football clubs in the Great Southern actually offering other players at other clubs money to take them away from their footy club to play for them. I mean, if you want to make our competition stronger, it's no good weakening the teams that we have in them. You've got to go outside of our competition and bring people into
it
to strengthen
it. You're probably Paul, aren't you, in that situation?
Well, basically, that's exactly right. And again, what happens to those boys that have gone to that footy club and next year there's no money? It's not like the other football club is going to open their arms up and say, well, righto, you've got a bag full of money and now you're going to come back and be a part of our footy club. It just doesn't work like that in the country. And we know that Mount Barker Bulls and also Denmark have to have travelling players to make them viable or compete in the competition. No one's saying don't do it and don't pay players, but I think that what you've got to do is you've got to bring players from other zones or other leagues that are that are not that far away from where they play their footy.
That would involve sponsorship deals then too, giving them a job and all that, wouldn't it?
Well,
to try and get
whether they pay them just to travel. I know there's a lot of there's a mercenary group of footballers that live in Perth that because they don't play in the waffle competition or the Sunday league up there, because they don't pay players. They go out into the country and they try and get as much money as they can. There's hundreds of them. I mean, look, there's different scenarios everywhere. I mean, Central Wheatbelt, there's a team up there that takes 20 players out of Perth a week in a bus just to keep the community to be able to go to a game of footy on a Saturday afternoon. Now, if that fits, well, that's all fantastic. But again, you know, it's just different scenarios suit different leagues.
Yeah.
But something about, you know, paying players to take them away from a footy club to go to another footy club, I just don't see that being any good for our competition. If a player wants to leave for personal reasons or whatever it might be, there's no issue there. Let him go, let him play football with wherever he wants to.
Yeah, fair enough. I'd just like to touch on, you've had a number of awards over the years in your football career. It spans over 30 years now. The most recent, of course, was the top 25 WA players of the past 25 years. How did you feel about that this evening?
Oh, look, very humbling. I mean, look, to think that I played my last game of footy as a playing coach for Claremont in 1995 was pretty good to even be put amongst those players that were in that top 25. But I guess when I look at it from my playing point of view, I played my first league game in 1979 against South Fremantle, and Wacko Jacko was playing for South Fremantle in a forward pocket.
You could forget that, yeah.
Well, I will never forget that, because he was fairly ugly going along with his the way that he used to perform on the footy field. But and that was in 1979, and then I played my last game in 1995 for Claremont. But you know, I'd won a fairest and best in '86 for Claremont, and I won 2 fairest and bests, one in '91 and one in '92 for Claremont. So played 7 state games, never played in a losing state side. The 7 games we won. Robert Wiley kicked a goal or a point after the siren, which the umpires put his hands up after we all reckon the siren had just gone, but in South Australia. So I was pretty lucky to go through that scenario without playing in a losing game. And I suppose my greatest feat was playing in a state of origin game in 1982. You know, when you were chosen as the best 20 out of everybody in Australia, was probably the day that I really sort of thought, well, this game's pretty special. Yeah, and you've never made it until you finished. And I must admit, I was watching Dustin Fletcher, and what a fantastic role model, and just the way that he spoke on TV in the hangar. We were watching, I was watching that, and him and his father, like, he was watching his father as a kid, as a 6-year-old. He's been at Essendon for 31 years watching footy. So, and just you know, you've never made it until you've finished. I don't care, you know, whether you're Wayne Carey or whatever. It's the day you hang up your boots, you've actually made it, and you look back and you see what you've done. And to be put into the West Australian Footy Hall of Fame, you know, again, you know, sometimes you sit there and you just think, well, you know, maybe you did do some good, or you know, you did have a very good career, but you know, you never walk around with your head in the clouds, because the people you meet on the way up is the ones that you meet on the way down. And you've just got to be, and my whole thing about footy now is that I was so lucky and privileged to have such a special footy career, and I just want to see as many boys that want to follow that dream, because it is a dream. And some get woken up very early in the dream, and some make it a lifetime story. So I was just very lucky, and I'm still doing it and still being involved. I've got I'm back on the board at Claremont, getting involved with Claremont again, and just the fact that I just love footy. And I suppose from my family's point of view, from my wife's point of view, and my 2 kids or 5 kids' point of view, they've probably missed out on a little bit. But again, you know, there's enough room for everything, and just to be able to see a lot more kids come through from Albany, make the big time, go through to the AFL and enjoy the dream.
Now, you said with your involvement with Claremont, and I better tell our listeners, I did have a chat to Darryl yesterday, and I said, oh, you got any aspirations of, you know, coaching in the Waffle or the AFL? He says to me, been there, done that. So I'm going to go backwards now, and he's going to coach in Antarctica in a few years, isn't it? The comment made.
That's correct. Well, as they say, you know, the older you get, the further down the back line you go. So I've been in the back pocket now. I've come down to Albany, and I guess the next step's down to Antarctica.
You've got to get a competition set up.
I've coached the Penguins down there and against the killer whales or something like that. So not a problem. But no, it's something that I dare say at some point. Hopefully I'll be able to be actively involved on the committee side of things with football down here as well.